All right. Thank you all for joining us, and to those that are watching this after the fact. We are very excited to have Mike with us to talk tonight about physical fitness, the importance of it, and show us a couple tips and tricks that we can use. But first, we also wanted to thank GRIFOLS, who's our presenting sponsor from the Hemophilia of North Carolina Family Festival and Walk. And unfortunately, we won't be able to see them in person this year, but we're really excited to be able to have Jeff Spears, who's the Global Medical Director of Hematology from GRIFOLS, to speak about COVID and plasma and how that's making an impact. So with that, Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, great. Thanks, Charlene. Well, it's really a pleasure for me to be a part of this program this evening. As a company, GRIFOLS really understands the difficulty that we're all in and the uncertain times that we're in, but we're anxiously trying to work and do our best along with everyone else in our industry, to really help in this pandemic. Our primary concern is continuing to serve our patients with our products as we manufacture those during this extraordinary time. Our measures have been aimed at ensuring the safety of our employees, safety of our donors, and our facilities in order to make sure we can continue our 24/7 and 365-day-a-year operations. Our plasma centers are continuing to operate, and in fact, in the last month or so, we've also made arrangements with all of our plasma centers to also collect convalescent plasma from COVID recovered patients in order to be able to facilitate the preparation of a hyperimmune product that will be used in some of the work that's being done with the U.S. Department of Health in the NIH studies and some other things that we're working toward. Just want to assure everyone that current evidence is also suggesting that our plasma products have a really extremely low probability of any transmission of SARS-CoV-2 or the COVID virus through blood or blood products of any kind. So I think that's an important thing for us all to consider. One of the interesting things about 6 years ago, GRIFOLS got involved with the Ebola crisis in West Africa. And in fact, the work that we did there is really actually helping us now in preparation for some of the things that we're doing for the COVID pandemic. And in fact, we've made our expertise in plasma available to health authorities around the world as a result of that work. What we're doing now, we're developing work toward the therapeutics and diagnostics to aid in the global response to the COVID virus. In our diagnostics division, we are advancing a screening assay, as well as exploring ways of doing antibody assays as well. So I think that's an important advance. Therapeutically, we've implemented our plasma collection program in our centers around the country to basically develop a convalescent plasma program to actually develop a hyperimmune that we would be able to study in conjunction with the NIH. We're participating in several clinical studies around the world, some in Spain with convalescent plasma, and then Ireland, and in the US, we will be getting ready to work with NIAID, the National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Disease, to also work with them when we're getting ready to study this. Finally, I also want to emphasize the fact that there's a large effort across our industry, not just with GRIFOLS, but across the industry, and we've recently joined the group called the Fight Is In Us Coalition. And with this coalition, we've got a broad-based medical and research grouping of institutions, blood centers, life science companies, philanthropic groups, and COVID-19 survivor groups as well, that we've all come together to accelerate the development of these new therapies for patients. So the goal of this coalition is really to mobilize people who've recovered from COVID-19 to get them to donate their plasma, some of which would go to convalescent plasma therapies, others of which would go to the development of the hyperimmune plasma products that I've alluded to a little bit before. GRIFOLS is really proud to be a part of this and be in the forefront of the global response to this pandemic, and we look forward to furthering, our mission to improve health and well-being of people around the world. And we are just happy to be a part of this since our founding 110 years ago. And we just wish the Hemophilia of North Carolina program, as we kick off this evening for the Charlotte Virtual Walk, great success. And with that, Charlene, I'll give it back to you.
Thank you very much. And that's very interesting. I appreciate that. So I am going to quickly, I just want to say thank you again to GRIFOLS, our presenting sponsors, and to all of our other sponsors as well. This pre-walk webinar is really an opportunity for us to get together, have some fun, work with Mike to get us ready for Sunday for our walk event. But none of it would be possible without our sponsors, and especially GRIFOLS, who has been our presenting sponsor for many years now, I believe, since the walk has started in 2008, and if not, then it was 2009. But it's been a long time partnership with GRIFOLS, and we really appreciate that. And then lastly, because I'm not sure if you're sticking on to stretch and work with us, but if not, let me unpin your video. I want to take a group picture. So anybody who's been on earlier webinars knows that I like to let people know in advance so that they're not surprised and they're not in the photo that we post online. So with that, Reed, once you stop moving, okay, awesome. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. And now I would like to introduce Dr. Michael Zola. Am I right? Maybe?
You're good.
Okay. Who was born in Italy, grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and currently resides in Morganville, New Jersey. He received his doctorate in physical therapy from Chatham University in Pittsburgh, PA, and currently works as a clinical director at the New Jersey Spine and Wellness Sports Medicine. We're getting a tour of his office tonight. He also has a special connection to the bleeding disorders community as a person living with hemophilia. Thank you for joining us, Mike.
Thank you. All right, so welcome everyone. So what we're gonna do today is, we're gonna run through a couple of things without any equipment whatsoever. And I'm gonna show you guys some stuff that, you probably haven't seen before. It's gonna be really more exercises based more so for mobility, not just like general neck stretching that everyone knows, but I'm going to show you guys a couple things for the wrist, the shoulder, the hip, and the ankle, and then we'll go through some just postural stuff since everyone's kind of home working from home and everyone's slouched forward. And at the end, we'll leave some stuff for questions and show you guys some body weight workouts as well. But, I hope you guys join throughout this and get a little good stretch. So yes, I'm from New Jersey. I'm in my office now. Just finished a nice long day at the office, but I have hemophilia as well, and I've been doing presentations around the community for the last, I believe, 6 years or so, traveling to all different types of, all different states, and got associated with like the HFA, Coalition for Hemophilia B, and do all their organizations. I started making a lot of videos, and then I was posting them on social media, but I created a YouTube channel, HemoDoc, so there's some stuff about kinesiology taping, a couple of exercise videos. Nothing really has been posted lately, secondary to everything being canceled. But if you guys have any questions, you could check some of those videos. So we will get started. The first thing, everything we're going to be doing is going to be very nice, slow, and controlled motions. We're going to start at the wrist. And really, like, what happens if individuals get target joints, they brace their wrist or they brace their ankle, and then they lose a lot of range of motion. They develop a lot of scar tissue. But what people don't know is that you can always regain that range of motion, and you can always regain that strength if you exercise it appropriately. So the goal with these type of movements is that we're going through range of motion in a controlled environment to try to gain motion right away. So what we do is we're going to start with the wrist, and you want to have like a nice stable surface. You can either hold it or have it rested on your knee. You're going to make a gentle fist, and what we're going to do is contract the muscles. We're going to bring our wrists inwards as far as we can. Everything we're doing, we're going to go as far as possible, We're gonna go up, and we wanna make sure we're maintaining tension throughout the entirety. And then you're gonna go to the side. So you're pretty much making circles, but the difference is that everything is nice, slow, and controlled. And then we go down. So we can run through 3 of those, starting in one direction. Again, the goal of this is to regain range of motion, but also regain stability. And the more we do this, the goal is to try to get more and more range of motion. Keep everything nice, tight, and controlled. And then we're gonna go the other direction. So we're gonna start going all the way out to the right, up, in, and down. At home, if you guys have one of those gripping balls that I'm sure you've gotten a lot of the conferences, you can use that to squeeze, use a towel, use a gripper, or if you don't have anything at all, just kind of squeeze your hand. Good. So that was 3 and 3 for the wrist. So now we're going to go with the shoulder. So a lot of times my patients will have limited range of motion, or they'll have pain when they bring their arm out to the side or kind of straight back. Same thing as the wrist. The goal is to try to regain strength and regain mobility in those painful ranges. So here, we're going to start with the feet. We're going to kind of press the feet into the ground. You want to tighten up the hips, tighten up the glutes, and then you're going to slowly elevate with your thumb up as far as you can. As we get to the top, your thumb kind of twists out, and then you bring it back as far as you can. As you bring it back, you're going to go through the ground, all nice and slow. Try to keep your back nice and upright as well. Then we're going to reach back, reach back, reach back, and come back. We're going to go 3 times each. Up, up, up. Nice and slow, contract it. Try to get farther, reach out to the side, reach behind, and then go through. So now we're going to go back to the left side, okay? Same thing, you could have it rested on your knee, or you can hold it, make a fist. We're going to go up, out. So the wrist is a very common area that people get a lot of joint bleeds in, but not many people know how to strengthen it. And then we wear a brace. What happens with a brace is your wrist doesn't move, so obviously it's not going to hurt if you're not moving it. But the longer we splint something, the longer we keep it in a non-mobile state, the less range of motion we're going to have, which is going to develop into more scar tissue, and your wrist becomes very, very weak. So I don't really recommend the splinting or the bracing. The kinesiology taping is another course that I teach, and that's to replace the bracing because you can kind of maintain mobility. And these are great exercise. So now we did 3. So now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start on the other side. So you're going to go out, up, up, up as far as you can. These are called, all of these things that we're doing, they're called CARs, controlled articular rotational surfaces. So we're controlling the movement throughout the entirety. And down. None of this should be painful. All right, so we're going to go back to the shoulder. So I'm using a rolling chair to kind of change the angles, so make sure you guys can see everything. If anyone can't see, then just say something. So we're going up, 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 nice and slow. Keep everything contracted. Reach behind, reach behind. If you hear a pop or a click, that's okay, as long as it doesn't hurt. If your shoulder dislocates doing this, then go to the ER. Back, back, back. Good. One more. Good. Okay. The next one, I'm going to take my shoes off. We're going to do is going to be for the ankle. So the ankle is another one. A lot of my patients come in, they have chronic ankle sprains. They wear ankle braces. I actually just wrote an article speaking about like target joints, specifically about the ankle, because a lot of kids that play soccer or baseball or basketball always sprain their ankle and get a lot of bleeds. And what I really talked about is if you sprain your ankle once, anybody, even without a bleeding disorder, we have to re-strengthen those muscles. If we don't re-strengthen them, then it's in a weakened state, even people without bleeding disorders, and they're more likely to kind of re-injure themselves. So any joint that gets injured, whether it's the ankle, knee, hip, elbow, shoulder, we have to work on stability exercises. Otherwise, we're always going to re-injure that. In a bleeding disorder, if we re-injure it multiple times, we call it a target joint. But my whole article talks about that we can prevent this if we just do the right workouts. So for the ankle, same thing we did with the wrist. We want to keep everything nice and tight. And a lot of my patients with hemophilia, the ankle is the biggest problem they come in with because that's where they lose and kind of self-fuse that motion. But a lot of my patients have regained a lot of mobility. So same thing, we're going to start with our foot pointed down. We're going to go invert, so bring it in as far as possible, go up as far as possible. You're going to feel everything pulling. Make a really nice and slow circle, and now point down and come across. So a lot of people do like ankle circles for range of motion, but the difference is we're keeping everything nice, slow, contracted, and we're kind of running through the range. And this is going to apply a lot of stability through the ankle joint. Good, so we're going to go 3 directions. Now we're going to go the opposite circle. Point down, go to the right, we're up and down.
Mike, there was a comment, can't see what you're doing. Your
Good.
foot, just as it's up, we can see it. There you go. Perfect.
Better? Hold on. Better? All right, so the first 3 I did was in, up, out, and down. So run through that 3 times. In, up, out, down. And now we're going to go the opposite way. Down to the right, up. So anytime someone goes for a long walk or a run or, anything for your walk that you guys are doing virtually, these are great workouts to do. Good, so now that we got the right one, we're gonna switch to the left. So it doesn't matter which way you start, but you wanna keep your legs straight. I'm gonna go to the left, up, right, and down. Keep everything nice, slow, controlled. At the end of all these workouts, if you guys have any questions about specifics, that's what we'll take time to answer. Just because, I can teach exercise on anything. I'm just trying to give really, general things that everyone can do from home. Second one, we got one more. Good. The next one I want everyone to try, I know right now, especially like working from home, a lot of people are forward, their back is down, their head is down. So you really want to try to engage in a nice upright posture. A good one that I teach a lot of my patients, just having their arms crossed and just turning. So as you turn, you want your head to follow your arms. And the goal is when we do a stretch, we actually want to hold it. We don't want to just go for 1 second. So with this one, we're going to hold for 10 seconds. You're going to feel this on that right side as you twist to the left. Come back to the middle. And now we're going to twist to the right side. Ten-second holds. After that, we're going to have our arms crossed. Feet are down, and now we're going to lean backwards. This one you might get like a pop or two in your middle back. But this one should feel really good right in that middle to lower back. All right. Another exercise, an easy one, is just seated. Just bring in your ankles and your feet up and down. If we're seated all day, then we're going to get a lot of poor circulation. Everything's going to kind of drain down. So we're going to start with just 10, kind of pumping your feet up and down. Now, to work the quads and the glutes, we're going to have our arms crossed, and we're just going to stand up from the chair, and sit down. We're gonna do this 10 times in a row. If this is challenging, you can use your arms for the armrest, but just standing up and down from the chair alone is gonna work those quads and those glutes. The lower the surface, the harder it's gonna be. So we're gonna do this 10 times.
My trouble is making sure that my rolling chair doesn't leave me.
I know, I have a rolling chair. Don't use this with the rolling chair. I'm just doing this for the sake of being able to roll back and forth.
I'll do it for mine for now. And it'll be entertainment for y'all if I make it.
All right, 10th one, we're gonna stay standing. So another good one, working the calves. It's also good for the ankles. I'm gonna teach you guys, everything we're gonna do is like 10 reps, just because if we do like 3 sets of 10 to 15, we're gonna be here late. So we're gonna do 10 reps on here. Now we're gonna start kind of working from our ankles all the way up to the hips. So anybody with ankle, knee, or hip problems, we gotta train all parts of the legs, because if you have an ankle problem, it could be coming from a weak hip. So we're gonna do 10 heel raises. Now, from there, we're gonna have our feet apart, and we're just gonna waddle side to side. This is called a penguin walk. So this might seem like you're not doing anything, but if you actually balance on the one leg for a second, you're gonna start feeling it on both hips. If you add a resistance band, you'll really feel it. I remember 3 years ago at HFA, I was showing the exercise with the resistance band, and I had like 25 people doing this at the same time. And they're like, I don't know what I'm doing, this hurts my hip. So this is a good exercise.
Now, Mike, where would you hold it, have the band on your leg and your arm? How would you hold the band?
Just around the ankles.
Okay.
So, yeah, like, so like if I have a band here that's tied, just put it around the ankles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that way you really get the resistance, and that's much, much harder.
Got it.
So, did you guys feel that with the penguins on the side of the hips? I think everyone's muted, but all right. All right, so the other, a lot of times I see people that walk, that like kind of walk with a limp and they drop down. So the one hip muscle is usually weaker, which the hips are the most important for keeping you upright. If your pelvis is weak, then one side is gonna kind of drop down. So to prevent that, toes are forward. I want everyone to bring their leg out to the side 10 times on the left. And you're gonna see this is actually pretty hard to do without rocking. The goal is that you're not doing this with your body. You wanna keep your chest up. You really wanna get the motion from the side of your hip. So we're gonna go 10 times there. Now we're gonna switch legs, nice and slow. So while right now I'm doing my right leg, so I'm working my right hip, but just keeping that balance in the left, you're also working your left hip.
So Mike, may I ask a question? I have double hip replacements, and I'm a half an inch short on my left side. So my hip abductors are very weak.
Right.
So I'm gonna hold on to this chair and do it. I couldn't stand up and do it.
Yeah, 100%. You could definitely hold on to the chair. And the more that you train and the easier that it gets, you could go from holding onto the chair with 2 hands to 1 hand to maybe like, just your fingertips on the chair. But the stronger that you get, these exercises that you practice pretty frequently, like if they're done once every week or so, it's not going to do much. So I always recommend trying to do these workouts 3 to 4 times a week. I'm showing you everything like 1 set of 10, but you really want to try to get like three sets in to actually work the muscles. And once 10 reps get easy, you want to try to progress them to like 12, 15 to 20 reps. Okay. Once that gets easy, then you can always progress to therabands, ankle weights, things of that sort. All right, so we did out to the side and this way. Now, the other muscle that's good for like getting up from the chair or going up and down stairs are your glutes. So this one, we're going to extend our leg straight back. So when we do this, we want to make sure we're not going forward or we're not like hyperextending. We really want to drive the force with our hip. And we're going to go 10 times with the right, 10, and 10 times with the left. So right now I'm not holding on to anything. I'm keeping my leg that's moving in the air the whole time. So it really works to balance much more. 9, 10. Good. So those were a couple of exercises. Now, similar to how we did with the shoulder, we're going to do the same thing with the hip because a lot of individuals get hip problems, iliopsoas bleeds. So how we did the shoulder with the controlled motion, we're going to do the same thing with the hip. But this is harder to balance, so you can hold on to something. But we're going to drive the hip up, keep everything nice and tight, abduct it, bring it out to the side. Now the ankle is going to kind of kick out. You're going to extend the leg and then drive it through. So we're going up, we're abducting, we're keeping everything tight, we're kicking our leg out to the side, and then we're driving through. So that's 2. So up, out. This would be hard with, the hip replacements if you weren't stretched out the right way, but this can help you because you're kind of stabilizing that socket within the joint. And then we're going to go do the left leg. So I'm driving my knee up, I'm driving my hip out, my ankle kind of kicks back, and then I'm coming up. Also another really good workout before like a walk or a run, just to get those joints loosened up. Lost my balance there. So it's not easy. Out, kick, and come back. All right. So another thing that's really good to practice at home, as long as it's safe to work on the ankles, that's very easy, is really just trying to walk on your heels. So this is going to challenge the balance system, but it's also going to challenge walking like the foot drop and stuff. I don't recommend doing it barefoot because it might hurt the heels a little bit. So keeping your chest up, toes are up. We're walking on our heels. If you want to get crazy, you can walk backwards. Don't trip over your cats or dogs. Okay, one more. Because once the ankles get weak and stiff, we develop like that kind of foot drop feeling, and then that's how we trip over objects. So don't want that. Okay, and then the opposite to get the calves, this one is a little bit easier. We're going to walk on our toes. And same thing, you could try it backwards. Walk forwards. While we're completing this one, does anyone have like a specific kind of question or workout they'd like to see? Because this pretty much completed a lot of things we could do for, gave you guys a couple we could do for the ankle, a couple for the hip, a couple stretches for the hips. We did a couple shoulder and wrist ones. Another one I could show you is, some hamstring stretching. Sometimes it's hard for people to stretch their hamstrings. So what I like to show is really just kind of one leg forward on a chair and bring your body weight forward nice and gentle. If you bring your toes up towards you, you're going to feel it a lot more. But stretching out the hamstrings is very important because if the hamstrings are tight, it can cause some low back pain. Holding this for about 30 to 45 seconds. As you feel it stretch, you can bring your body weight down a little bit to get more of a stretch. And come back and then do the other leg. So we're going to have same thing. So for me, I feel a lot more tension on the left. It's not uncommon to get more tension on one side compared to the other. So I feel the stretch right now. So I'm going to hold it there. And then after a few seconds, I'm going to feel it relax. I'm going to try to bring my body weight down a little bit more. And that's why you want to hold stretches for a long time. If you just do a 5 or 10 seconds, you're not going to really get the full stretch. But if you hold it for 30 to 45 seconds, you're going to feel those muscles relax a little bit more and more.
I do feel a difference. I have a total knee, and I am able to do that stretch, and it helps me too.
Good.
This is really good, and I feel it behind here.
Yeah, 100%. So that's a little bit of everything. I want to take some time for, really just to review. We started off with doing, nice, slow, controlled motions with the wrist. We went 3 times in each direction. We went 3 times the other way. Then we did the same thing with the shoulders. Thumbs up, out to the side, extend, come straight back. Then we went on to the ankles. We did the sit to stands with the arms crossed. We did the penguin walks. We did hip out to the side, hip straight back. We did heel raises standing straight up. Then we worked the balance a little bit. We walked on our heels. We walked on our toes. Then we did the hip one going up and out for the controlled motions. And then we did a static hamstring stretch. I also forgot that we did the seated rotation stretch for posture, as long as a seated rotation stretch the other way, and then arms behind the back, and we did an extension stretch. So we demonstrated about 15 types of workouts, combination of a little bit of everything. Would anyone like to ask any questions or have me elaborate on some things that we didn't discuss?
Do you have any more hip exercises?
Yeah. Like for which part specifically? Like laying down, standing up, which part of the...
Standing up.
Okay.
Getting from seated to standing.
Like to work on your glutes?
No, more to work on right there. Back.
Yeah, so...
Lower back, upper hip.
Another good one, like doing stuff laying on your back. So if you guys know bridges are also really good. You lay on your back with your knees bent and you drive your hips up. Those are really good exercises for, for the back. You really want to work a lot more in your core. You don't want to do things like sit-ups because that'll compress it. You want to do more things like planking, a bird dog, where like if if you're on your hands and your knees, kind of like here, and then an arm and a leg go straight. These are good things to do. A plank, but the bridges are also very good. I think I have, there was a series of 7 videos that the Hemophilia Maryland Association put out, and I have core on there. So I think I have like 6 or 8 workouts. I would definitely look at that video. I'm not sure if North Carolina can share those, or if I could find them. They were shot. Yeah, those were recorded like right when COVID was really crazy, I think in March or April. So we could find those videos and share them, because that shows like 6 or 8 exercise of every body part.
Yeah, Mike, if you can find them, we'll definitely share them. We can send an email to everybody who's registered tonight, but then also make it available to others as well.
Okay.
That'd be great. And if there's no other questions, I did have some questions from folks that couldn't be on tonight, but I want to first give an opportunity. Any other questions from folks that are on? No. Okay. Any suggestions on how to get your child to want to do some of these things?
Yeah, I mean, it depends so I would always relate it back to the child's interest. So if the child, we have a lot of kids that come in and, kids don't want to hold like a TheraBand or do hip things. So I would always relate it back to their sport or whatever they like to do for fun. So if they play soccer, I would have, instead of having somebody kick their leg out to the side, have them practice kicking 15 times a soccer ball or 15 times straight back, because you could do a lot of workouts with the soccer ball. I would just always try to relate the activity back to what sport they're playing and saying, hey, let's practice this so you can be, better at your sport and be like a better athlete.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then go ahead.
One other thing, really getting them to understand, like if they, hopefully at this age, like the kids are growing up without many issues, but if they are having joint problems, I would just really try to educate them on, hey, like the more you exercise, the less times you're gonna have to do your medicine, like for myself, that's kind of what helped me. I don't have to infuse as much. So nobody likes giving themselves the infusion. So I would just make that a habit. Like if you could do these workouts a couple times a week, we can, you know, stop doing your medicine as much. I think that would be pretty helpful.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then speaking of getting their medicine and bleeds and stuff like that, I know you mentioned it in the beginning about target joints, and that's something that for me I always found really impactful, was to hear how quickly something like having a bleed or getting a bleed can turn into, you know, a long-term, lifelong problem. So I don't know if, again, for folks that'll be watching the recording with target joints, you know, how many times do you have to get a bleed for a target joint to happen? You know, why is it important for folks to really try and avoid that?
Yeah, I mean, they say like 6 times in a year for that to develop. So the more you exercise, the less chance you have of developing target joints. Once a target joint occurs, I mean, you don't want to scare somebody, but that's really, you know, it increases your chance of requiring surgery. If a surgery occurs, surgery leads to early arthritis, and that leads to early onset pain and disability. So really trying to stay ahead of everything is important.
Yeah, definitely. And then should it hurt? You know, some people, I think they're trying to find the balance. So one of the questions was, should it hurt? You know, do you have any suggestions on like what's the balance of feeling the stretch and feeling the burn and feeling the pain?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, you know, it's important to understand that if individuals haven't exercised in a very long time, even if they used to like run all the time and they haven't done it in a while, the first couple of times we restart this program, and especially if we're doing simple things like the hip exercise, like I used to go to the gym all the time, but you know, you don't see a lot of people doing like hip exercise. They're mainly doing like like squats and stuff. So if we start doing these workouts, it's important to understand that you're going to get really sore, but we have to differentiate what is muscle soreness versus pain. And a lot of times people get that confused and they get really, really sore and they get nervous and then they stop working out altogether. So if the soreness goes away without medicine, then it's not a bleed, it's just muscle soreness, you know. But if we feel like it's swollen, then we probably did too much. So, which is why I always encourage like to start off nice and easy and then increase slowly to see how your body tolerates it, because everyone's body has a different tolerance to the workouts. So I would never try to push through pain. Like if somebody has a wrist problem and they're doing an exercise and it's hurting their wrist, I wouldn't do that. But if someone's doing something and they feel like muscle burn, I would try to, you know, that's fine. That's what we want to get to.
Great. And then, Carol, I'm not sure if you're talking question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a question. The best time or the beginning of a workout is to, without injury, is to warm up, correct? Is to, what kind of exercises, like for myself, who I have, you know, double hip replacements left and right and a knee replacement. And I do like to exercise a little bit at a time, but I don't want to injure myself, or, you know, the importance of making sure my muscles, the question I'm asking, making sure that we warm up first.
Yeah, you want to, I mean,
like what kind of exercises can I do to warm up my muscles first?
Do you have like a stationary bike or access to one?
I could, but I mean, right now, no.
Yeah, I mean, like for someone who had double hip replacement, biking would be very good because you're kind of going through that motion, warming up the hips. But really, just like nice, you wanna start off things doing like nice and gentle. You could do really just kind of to work on the hips, just kind of standing and doing like little hip circles in a couple different directions, hip circles the other way, just to kind of get that joint warmed up, then switch the other leg. But even doing things like what I showed with the hip out to the side, hip extension, those are good warm-ups to do the things that you want to do. Because everything, you know, it will probably feel like stiff in the beginning, but you want to try to loosen it up and then kind of go through your program.
Thank you. Any other questions from the group? Otherwise, I have one final question. So Mike, how can people, oh, go ahead.
I saw there was a comment in the chat that just said that muscle soreness tends to go away, they find, in a day or two.
Yeah, so usually you'll get sore the first day, but you'll get more sore the second day just by how everything works. And then by the third day, you should be feeling a lot better.
Good. And not swelling, like you said, that's when there's probably something more than just soreness if you feel swelling, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then the final question is, how can people learn more from you? I know you mentioned it at the beginning, but I'll just ask you to once again share how people can watch your videos and stuff like that.
Yeah, I have, again, I have a couple videos. I mean, I post a lot of stuff on Facebook. Honestly, the stuff that I do in my clinic, I try to post like every single day. So if you just add me on Facebook as Mike Zola, the videos on YouTube, HemoDoc, you know, I have a couple stuff from there, but really like once things start to open up again, let your chapter know that you want an interactive program because, you know, just from personal experience, a lot of events that I go to, I mean, people are telling you on a PowerPoint, exercise is good for your joints. Everybody knows that, but nobody knows what to do. So it's like the same thing, like, you know, you go to a nutrition seminar and people say, eat healthy, but at all of our seminars, it's all like, you know, muffins and, you know, all these things there. We really got to like give specific details. Everybody knows exercise is good for you, but I try to give specifics on what can we do for specific joints. So I guess to summarize, if you guys are having chapter events and, you know, you want that presentation, let your, I guess, like executive director or whoever runs the programs, tell them to have me come out and I'll join your chapter events and I can teach you. But if not, then just message me. I always get random kind of messages on what can I do for this or that. And I reach, you know, I respond to people all the time. So check out the YouTube, message me on Facebook, and send me out to your chapter events.
Yeah, and we'll make sure to send you out to one that's in Charlotte when the Eagles are playing the Panthers, so that way you can see the game.
Yeah,
So,
that'd be good. If there is football this year.
Yeah, no, it might be next year. So, but that's okay. We'll get you out. Don't worry. Even if it doesn't coordinate with the Eagles Panthers game. Well, thank you very much, Mike. We really appreciate it.
It was fun, but yeah, like I said, if anyone has any questions, reach out to me and I'll be happy to help.
Thank you. And if you're not doing anything on Sunday, at some point, please walk and cheer with us in spirit for the North Carolina walk.
Cool, will do.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
You too.